The modern world is built on a specific kind of physical logic, one that dictates the price of your clothing, the availability of your electronics, and the location of your job. For centuries, the ultimate limit on human commerce was the friction of distance. Shipping goods across an ocean was affordable, but the transition from land to sea created a barrier that few businesses could overcome. This was the era of break bulk shipping. Every shipment arrived at the dock as a fragmented mess of individual crates, wooden barrels, and loose sacks. Thousands of longshoremen had to move these items one by one, using hand hooks and rope slings to stow them in the hold. The data from this period reveals a counterintuitive reality. Sailing goods across the Atlantic was the cheap part. Manually loading and unloading the ship accounted for nearly half the total bill, making the dock the most expensive place on Earth for a manufacturer. This manual labor created a physical bottleneck that effectively capped the size of the global economy. Because moving parts and goods was so expensive, manufacturers were forced to stay small or stay local, building their factories as close to their customers as possible. This economic pressure created the massive, vertically integrated factory. At Ford's River Rouge plant, raw iron and rubber entered the complex at one end, and finished cars came out the other. It was more efficient to do everything in one building than to pay the costs of moving components between specialized suppliers. This geography also tethered workers to their local industries. Without the ability to ship goods cheaply, companies couldn't easily move their operations to find cheaper labor, keeping wages and production locked within national borders. International trade was a luxury, preserved only for raw materials or expensive finished goods that could justify the massive overhead at the docks. Malcolm McLean, a trucking business owner, looked at these crowded docks and realized the industry was mismanaging its core asset. While his competitors were focused on the speed of their ships, McLean realized their real business was simply moving freight. He proposed intermodalism, a system where a single sealed trailer could be lifted off a truck chassis, stowed on a ship, and placed back on a train without anyone ever touching the cargo. In 1956, he tested this theory by loading 58 containers onto a converted tanker, the SS Ideal X. The maiden voyage proved that the contents of a truck could be moved across the ocean with zero manual sorting at the port. McLean had designed a standardized network that treated the journey from the factory gate to the customer as one continuous automated flow. The engineering key to this system was the twist lock, designed by Keith Tantlinger. It's a rotating connector that inserts into the corners of a container and turns 90 degrees to lock. This simple mechanism allowed thousands of tons of cargo to be stacked securely and lifted by high-speed cranes. The economic impact was immediate. On the Ideal X, the cost of loading cargo dropped from $5.83 per ton to just 16 cents. At the docks, productivity rose from 1.7 tons per hour to 30 tons per hour. Machines began doing in minutes what had previously taken thousands of longshoremen days to complete. By automating the sea-land interface, the twist lock removed the final physical barrier to the global movement of goods. As shipping costs fell toward zero, the second unbundling began. Corporations realized it was now cheaper to manage a global network of specialized suppliers than to maintain a single massive factory in one high-cost location. Supply chains stretched across the planet. A product could be designed in London using components manufactured in Japan, assembled in Vietnam, and sold in New York, all because transport costs disappeared. This frictionless shipping creates direct competition between workers thousands of miles apart. By moving production abroad for pennies, manufacturers bypass high-wage regions. The pay of a worker in South Carolina becomes effectively linked to a worker in Shenzhen. The container physically integrated the world's labor force, concentrating industrial production in East Asia, where costs were lowest. Modern manufacturing now relies on just-in-time logistics. Factories no longer keep large stockpiles of parts. Instead, they depend on the arrival of containers to deliver components exactly when they are needed for assembly. Inventory that used to sit in warehouses now sits on the open ocean. Corporations treat these ships as moving storage units, synchronizing global trade so precisely that a delay of just a few days can stop an entire assembly line. This efficiency has created a new kind of vulnerability. Because the system has no buffer stock, a blockage at a single maritime choke point can trigger a shortage of essential goods halfway around the world. We have built a civilization that trades local resilience for global speed. Our world is no longer shaped by the distance between us, but by the constant, fragile movement of the steel boxes that link us together.